Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Bill, and just wanted to bring you a brief message today, a brief training, and talk about the tracking box. You know, if you've been to a standard class, if you've been to one of my workshops, then you know that the tracking box is really a critical piece of your development as a tracker. And I think everybody kind of recognizes this, but what I really want to get across to you today is how to take care of your tracking box, how to set it up the right way, and how to make it work for you rather than you know, making some of the mistakes that I see people make on a regular basis. So to begin with, if you have any questions, you know, a tracking box, we need it to be of adequate length. You know, you can see that this box is probably between 6 and 8 feet, somewhere along those lines, and that's about minimum length for a tracking box. The reason I say that is because when I walk through the tracking box, you know, a tracking box of this length, my first step is going to be my step into the box, and then I've got about 2 steps before I take my last one, and that's my step out of the tracking box. And that's okay as long as you realize that if your tracking box is that length, then really you only have 2 steps to really play with. So you want to make sure that this thing is nice and long. Secondly, you want to make sure that the tracking box is at least 6 inches deep. This tracking box is probably between 8 to 10 inches deep, probably 8 inches deep. But the minimum you want is 6 inches. And the reason I say that is when you step down onto your tracking box, what happens is the pressure from your foot, the force, drives beyond your foot into the earth, down into the ground, and then will actually rebound and come back up again. And if you have less than 6 inches, then you're going to end up getting distortions in your track. So you want to make sure that you have at least a 6-inch depth, if not more. You know, this tracking box is filled with what we call zero dirt, and what that means is it's filled with damp sand. And this is really a good place to start out when you're beginning. You know, this is what we recommend, and really you want to go out and find something about the quality of beach sand. So, you know, if you took a close look at this, you'd find that it's fairly fine grained, and there's not a whole bunch of heavy particulate in it. Secondly, you want to make sure that your sand is nice and damp. And a good test for the dampness of your tracking box sand is to take it, clench it in your hand, and then see how well it holds its shape. If it's too dry, it'll start to blow away or maybe fall through your fingers. If it's too damp, then it'll be more runny. You don't want it too damp, you don't want it too dry. You want it right about just how I have it right here. That's about good, that's about perfect. And then thirdly, you know, the other thing that I see people making mistakes with all the time is taking their tracking box and either packing it down way too hard or not packing it down enough. And the best way I know, the best test I know, is to make sure that, you know, every time you go to your tracking box, I like to take my thumb and just kind of push down into it by an inch or 2. And what that does is it develops a sensitivity. And, you know, as you play with this, you'll come to an understanding of how packed you want this tracking box to be. So that's kind of the basics on tracking box. You can see we've got it nice and smooth. The sand should be nice and smooth. Some friends and I took this old board that we found and just wiped it down, and the smoothness really helps. You can see that these tracks really pop because of the smoothness of it. And that's really the basics of tracking boxes and how to take care of them, so and how to set them up. So I hope this was valuable training for you today, and I look forward to tracking with you again sometime soon. Thanks.